Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, coming to you to talk to you a little bit about nearshore and offshore fishing tips, tricks, and more. Looking forward to another Sunday night great show. We got a good one lined up for y'all, and hopefully you guys are ready for a great show. We're going to be talking about what we've been catching. We're going to be talking about what's going on at Hubbard's Marina, what's coming up, and a little bit about the weather. And we're going to be showing you a lot of different fishing tips, tricks, and more. So, hope you're ready. Stay tuned. Hey, Facebook, Captain Dylan Hubbard here from Hubbard's Marina, coming to you live with our Sunday night live stream fishing show. We're talking about nearshore and offshore fishing tips, tricks, and more. And we got a great show lined up for you guys. Looking forward to a great time tonight. Always a great time hanging out with y'all and talking fishing. So we're going to get started here in a little bit. We're a little bit behind tonight, and I apologize for that. Had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we were able to figure it out. Now, tonight, we were not able to figure out the YouTube comment picker. So if you're watching on YouTube, you do not have a chance to win a live or a free trip, unfortunately. It's only on Facebook. We're going to get that worked out, guys. But unfortunately, right now, you can only win a free fishing trip by commenting on our Facebook video. So if you're watching on YouTube, tune into Facebook real quick, leave a comment on the Facebook stream. You have to comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. If you're watching on the Captain Dylan Hubbard page or any of the other Facebook pages we stream to, you will not be eligible to win. So check out Hubbard's Marina Facebook page. Leave one comment. That's all you got to do. You're eligible to win some free fishing trips sometime throughout the show tonight. But for all of you who tuned in, I appreciate y'all joining us. Same thing we do every Sunday night. We talk about what we've been catching. We go over some fishing tips and tricks. We answer your questions. We got a cool show lined up for you guys. We have some killer photos to show off of what we've been catching out there. And we're going to be talking about the weather and going over all the things you need to know to hopefully help you catch more fish next time you're out in the water, whether that's with us or with someone else. We look forward to helping people catch more fish. That's what this whole show is about, and also filling you in on what's going on and what you have to look forward to this week. So we've been catching a lot of good fish, and you're going to see some of those here shortly. We're going to get started here in just a few moments. Remember to like the video for us. Make sure to comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. Make sure you share this video with your friends, and we're going to get started here very shortly. Hopefully you guys are having a great Sunday night. I know I am. It was a great Sunday. Talked to the real animals this morning. 39-hour trip came in. We had our first 12-hour night snapper trip. Lots of cool new trips being added to our schedule because it is March. Spring break is here and we are getting busy. So definitely, if you want to get out and get out in the boat, go fishing, now is the time to do it before it just gets busier and busier. This is a busy time of year, so you definitely want to reserve your trips ahead. And to avoid the crowds, you can always book a private charter or wait until the spring break time kind of subsides, which should be sometime late April, early May. We get a little lull before the summertime crowd kicks in. But looking forward to a great spring. We've had some beautiful weather the last couple weeks. We got a little bit of adverse weather coming in here in the next few days, but it should be very short-lived from what I'm seeing. We're going to talk about fishing. We're going to answer your questions tonight. So hopefully you guys have some questions lined up for me. And we're We're going to be covering a lot of different things tonight, guys. So hopefully y'all are ready for a great show. Again, in order to win free fishing trips, you have to tune in or you have to log on to Facebook. You have to search for the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page. Find that live stream video on the Hubbard's page and comment one time. Once you've commented on the video, you're eligible to win. You do have to stay tuned in order to win, but you can watch on YouTube if you'd prefer that, but you do have to comment at least once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page in order to win free trips. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten the random comment picker figured out for YouTube yet. And if you're watching on the Smokey and Dusty page or the Captain Dylan Hubbard page of Facebook, those comments do not get you entered to win. But you can watch from any of the pages you want or from YouTube if you'd prefer. Wherever you want to watch is fine with me. But in order to win, eligible to win a free fishing trip, you got to leave at least one comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, guys. So, enough about that. We're going to remind you all about that a little later in the show. Don't forget to like and share this video. Don't forget, this is every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. I realize tonight we're a little behind schedule. I apologize for that. But at least we got our YouTube stream working again, so that's good, right? But let's get rolling, guys. How are you guys doing tonight? I hope you're having a great week. I hope you're ready for another great week coming up. The fishing has been really good, and we're going to get into it. We're going to get this thing rolling and show you what we've been catching. Hopefully you guys are hearing me loud and clear, and everything's working well for you all tonight, because we have some really cool stuff to go over, and I'm looking forward to showing you what we've been catching. So let's get right into this and talk about the 10-hour all day. The 10-hour all day has been doing very well on some nice big old mangrove snapper. This is from Thursday's 10-hour all day trip with Captain Dave. They went out there and fished a little deeper water and caught some monster mangrove snapper. Now these mangrove snapper are biting on live pinfish. That's what we're catching these big mangrove snapper on, are live pinfish. That's been the trick lately, are those little 3.5, 4-inch pinfish. That's what these big mangroves are going after lately. So definitely been really cool to see all these big old mangrove snappers coming in. So we're going to look through some of these photos from the trip. Here's some of the stringers from the trip. You can see some of the big mangrove snapper mixed in with some gray snapper or white grunts, some fat mangroves. Again, this is a 10-hour all day. This is not an overnight trip. This is not a 39-hour trip. This is only a 10-hour all day. So really, really cool to see lots of big mangrove snapper on these stringers. Lots of happy people. Really, really great fishing on that Thursday 10-hour all day. Now we have been catching, look at that stringer, some big old mangroves there. Now this is Captain Dave's boot. He's a size 11. That's a big old cowboy boot, and that is a monster mangrove snapper for a 10-hour all day. There's another picture of the box showing you some of those big mangroves, and plenty of them. It was a killer trip all the way around. Again, 10-hour all day. We did have our first 12-hour night snapper this past Friday. That 12-hour night snapper had a good bite of fish towards the beginning of it, and it got a little slow there during the middle of the trip, but then the bite kind of picked up again towards the end of the trip. So overall, that 12-hour night snapper trip went pretty well. I have some photos from the trip, but unfortunately didn't get to put them up on a computer to show you guys, but overall it was a great trip. They got a keeper red grouper, they got some nice big mangroves, they got some lane snapper, some porgies. It was a great night snapper trip. So those are Friday nights. Those 12-hour night snapper trips are Friday nights around the moon phases. We offer those on the full moon and then the quarter moons, and then the the new moon phase, we actually don't offer that 12-hour night snapper. So it's not every Friday night, it's most Friday nights from 7 p.m. Friday to 7 a.m. Saturday. That's when we do those 12-hour night snapper trips. Those trips are only $129, and they give you a great opportunity to catch mangrove, snapper, and plenty of other good eating fish too. But let's talk about the 12-hour extreme. The 12-hour extreme, Captain Anthony, they've been killing these red grouper and doing very, very good on the red grouper. Now, again, right now we have that deep water closure of red grouper, so beyond 20 fathoms or 120 foot of water, you can't keep red grouper. So we're actually fishing inside of where we would want to be fishing this time of year. But we're doing really, really well on that 12-hour extreme trip. So here's some photos from the 12-hour extreme. Some really big fat red grouper. Today's 12-hour extreme came in and they got a total of 20 head of big red grouper on today's 12-hour extreme trip. So these red grouper are biting pretty well right now. They seem to be pretty plentiful for us on that 12-hour extreme trip. There's a nice big old hogfish in the mix there. Some other fat red grouper. Definitely a great time to get out there. You can tell how calm it's been, just flat calm out there, and a good bite of fish. Look at that one. That is a beast of a red grouper, especially for being inside of 120 foot of water. Really, really cool to see all these big red grouper. And look at that. That is a that is a sad sight to see. That's a big shark. Took some bites out of that sucker right there for sure. And definitely very cool to see some big sharks out there. And that's a little unnerving. I don't know if I would want to be hanging out in the water too much when you got a big old shark like that hanging around. So we're going to call Captain Anthony, see if he is awake. Normally I wouldn't bother him, but I just saw he commented on the video. So let's see if he can talk to us. Tell us a little bit about what's going on these 12-hour extreme trips that he's been running, because they've been catching some big fish, as you can see here. I saw he just commented on the video, so if he's not engrossed with his kids, he's got two young boys, and they keep him pretty busy. But it sounds like he answered. What's up, Captain Anthony?
Hey, how you doing?
I know you're pretty tired, but I caught you commenting on the video, so I knew you were awake.
Yep, you got me.
So we're looking at some of your photos from your 12-hour extreme trips and some of these private fishing charters you've been running on the Flying Hub 2. You guys are doing pretty well out there, huh?
Yeah, we're doing real well on the grouper. It seems like in the morning the bite is real hot, and then it tapers off throughout the day. But still moving from spot to spot, getting the grouper just about every stop. We ended up with 20 head today, and we probably lost maybe another dozen red grouper. So they're out
Nice.
there.
So what has been the hot bait lately for these red grouper?
Surprisingly, it's been little strips of squid and or a pinfish.
Okay, so the pinfish and then the squid strips. Those strips kind of cut to be like octopus tentacles, like what we use on the 10-hour all day a lot of times.
Yeah, Rich is cutting them into about 4 to 5 inch pieces, and we're just using them on little single hook 60-pound test leaders. And I mean, we're getting the fish up. We got a nice couple gags today too, a bunch of short triggers, but nothing other than that. The bycatch was kind of minimal with just no mangoes, bunch of porgies. So
Yeah, because you're fishing in shallower water, kind of in that no man land between that deep water mangrove bite and that shallow water mangrove bite we've been having. So it's mostly just these big red grouper and those triggerfish. And triggerfish just opened, right?
yeah, the triggers just opened up. They seem to be a little bit deeper. I haven't really gone out there quite yet, just because of the 20 fathom curve closure. But I mean, I've been fishing with overnighters, fishing up in the grounds, and I'm hitting a little bit different stuff than they're doing. So that's just allowing me to get all the red grouper that they can't necessarily get on with such a big boat.
Yeah, the Flying Hub 2 being a smaller boat, less lines in the water, you have a little bit more of a stealthy attack. And you're saying that 60-pound leader has been your go-to lately?
we had a couple guys in the back. They were using 80 pound and 100 pound tests. They weren't getting as many bites, but they still ended up with three grouper for two of them, and then everybody else on the boat were what they were using our rental rod. So we had 60 pound tests, and it's just seemed to work quite a bit better.
Nice. And that's probably, I would guess, because in the shallower water, these fish are getting a little bit more pressure, and the water's really clear right now, so they're a little bit more leader shy, you think?
Yeah, very. Yeah, oh yeah. The water is just so clear right now. I've been meaning to take the GoPro out and drop it down to see how clear that stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah, feel free. We got four of them now, so you can take one out whenever you want.
Yeah, yep. Just need a good time to do that. I know you don't want me to drop down that expensive GoPro
Yeah, the new GoPro Hero 7s we got. They're pretty nice. We got the Hero 4s you can drop down.
now. Yep, exactly.
Well, cool, man. Any parting tips and tricks for these guys before we hang up? I know you're tired. I've been up since 3 a.m., so I'll let you go. But I want to get one last tip out of you if you got something special to share.
Yes,
On the
I
spot.
really don't have. Yeah, on the spot, exactly. I don't really have any tips. I mean, the jigging's been doing pretty good too. I mean, those Shimano flat fall jigs have been working out pretty well. So if you're on a spot and they're not necessarily hitting the live bait, try switching over to the jig and try jigging real quick.
All right, jigging. If it's not popping, you can always try to get jiggy with it, huh?
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Captain Anthony. You have a good night, brother.
You too.
Thanks for these. Hey, did you ever see the shark that bit this big old red grouper?
And we barely saw it. I mean, I was looking over and I reached over to grab the gaff, and as soon as I grabbed the gaff, he was like, "Oh crap! I think the fish popped off, and here comes his grouper head." So
Uh,
didn't really get to make it out, but it was a nice sized shark.
yeah, that's a big grouper to take some chomps out of. So, well,
Yeah,
cool, man. I appreciate it, and thanks for the great photos.
yeah, yep, no problem.
All right, man. Have a good day.
All
Or
right,
good night.
yeah.
I'm tired too. So these are some of the photos from our 12-hour extreme trip. That was Captain Anthony, who runs a lot of those 12-hour extreme trips. They've been doing really, really well out there, and overall the bite has been very good recently. So now we're going to look at some of these 39-hour photos. The 39-hour trip has been doing pretty well out there. We had a good Tuesday trip on February 19th, and that was a really decent trip, really good trip actually. And then February 22nd, we had a little bit of a slower trip, kind of tough weekend. Then this past weekend, the bite was a little bit better for us, but it was still a little slower than we would have liked. But it's definitely improving for us. And we're going to talk to Will here in a minute. You're going to see a video, and Will and I are going to discuss just that. But one thing that has not been slow is these pelagic bites. We've been catching a lot of tuna. We've been catching, we caught a huge wahoo, which you're going to see a bunch of photos of that 50-pound wahoo. And then we are seeing some cobia as well. So cobia action, tuna action, big wahoo. So lots of pelagic action on the 39-hour trip. And then we've been seeing a lot of these guys, these big gag grouper that we're having to catch and release, but still make great photos nonetheless. Lots of mangrove snapper action, some bigger mangroves mixed in with some smaller mangroves. We are starting to see the kingfish once again. Now, this wasn't very far from shore. Granted, this is a pretty small kingfish, but it's good to see those kingfish starting to show up in the more near shore waters. Some big mangrove snapper and pretty good amounts of them. Like another big old catch and release gag grouper. We're seeing amberjack occasionally. Amberjack open May 1st. They're open May, August, September, and October. Gag grouper are open June 1st through the end of the year. Red snappers should be open June 1st through the end of July. So There is a nice one. Who knows what that is right there? That's a unique fish we see from time to time, and it seems like we've been seeing more and more of these guys. Pretty unique looking fish. Let's see if anybody knows what kind of fish that is. We'll come back to that one. But some nice tuna action, and the tuna lately, we've been seeing a lot of these tuna on the Rapala X Wraps. The last weekend's trip, we caught, I think, maybe around 4 blackfin tuna, and all of those tuna were caught on the Rapala X Wraps, to my knowledge. This weekend's trip was a little different. The trolling was pretty slow. Didn't see many fish caught, if any big trophy fish like a blackfin on the troll, but we did catch blackfin tuna this past weekend on the 39 hour. They caught them while they were knocker rigging for mangrove snapper. So they were putting out some thread fins on a super small lead and floating that thread fin slowly down to the bottom in the chum line. And that's where they picked up the blackfin tuna this past weekend. So pretty interesting techniques. There's another shot of that kingfish. One of the big mangrove snappers from the trip. Another nice big mangrove, some catch and release red grouper, some big old. This kid was having a blast fishing with his dad on the 39 hour trip. Pretty cool to see the kids out there with their dad. And look at the size of that red snapper. Had to catch and release, get this guy vented, and get him back in the water quickly. But a big old beast of a red snapper. Again, those are going to open June 1st. They should be open until at least the end of July, if not a little sooner or a little later, maybe even into August. Some big gag grouper, another big tuna here that was caught on this past weekend's 39 hour trip. And you can tell right here, that's how they caught him. Right in the corner, you can see her spinning rod. She's knocker rigging for those mangrove snapper, and that's how this one got caught. Just bite was a little slow during the day. That midday doldrums, the bite kind of slows down. So you drop down to lighter tackle, lighter weight, lighter leader, and you get that bait going to bottom a little slower. And that a lot of times will entice some of those less aggressive, not as actively feeding fish like those big mangroves that are hanging higher in the water column to chew. So when the bite's slow, that's a great method to get the bite going, is starting to knock a rig. Especially if you've been fishing on a spot for a while, those mangrove snapper kind of tend to come up off the bottom. So that knocker rig is a great method to pick up those fish that are up in the water column chewing on that chum. Triggerfish did open up March 1st, so keeping some nice triggers. Here's that 10-pound hogfish we caught last weekend on the 39 hour trip. Big old hogfish there. And there's the pride and joy right there, baby. That is a 50-pound wahoo caught by Mr. Sylvester Barone here. And first mate Will showing off that big old fish. Beautiful fish caught trolling a Rapala X-Wrap Magnum 30. Just a monster wahoo. You can see the joy in Sylvester's eyes there, showing off that beautiful fish. Really, really, really cool catch, especially to be party boat bottom fishing and to come across a catch like that is very unique. So look at that face. You can just see the joy in his eyes. So really, really nice fish there. Again, caught on a Rapala X-Wrap. The Rapala X-Wraps have been really, really good to us. I like trolling either the Rapala X-Wrap 30, the Rapala X-Wrap 40, and you can just put it right straight onto your leader. A lot of people ask, do you need braid? Do you need mono? It doesn't really matter too much. I like running braid myself on my trolling reels just because you have more line capacity. If you do hook into one of these monster 80, 90, 100-pound wahoo. Last year we caught a 94-pound or a 93-pound wahoo, but that was gutted. That was gutted weight, so it was probably close to almost 100 pounds. And that thing would have dumped a spool. So if you put braided line in your spool when you're trolling, and then you put maybe 10, 15, 20 feet of fluorocarbon on top of it, that gives you a little bit of a shock leader and make sure that that fish can't see it. I go a little bit more. I put a little bit longer of a fluorocarbon leader, probably about 40-50 feet. That way that braid is nowhere close to my trolling lure. Either the Fathom offshore trolling skirts we have, or that Rapala X-Wrap Magnum 30 or Magnum 40, and you can just tie it straight onto your leader. You don't really need to do anything special for it. That's what makes those Rapalas so nice, is nothing special required, because those fish, especially the 30s and 40s, they're such a big lure that these fish typically bite the second half of them, so you don't have to put any wire or anything like that on it. And right now it's been so clear out there that any wire or anything like that would probably hurt your ability to catch those fish. But let's talk to Will. We've got a video here. I caught up with Will. He had just escaped the marina this morning after his 39-hour trip, and he thought he was safe. But I chased him down at the restaurant him and Jason were eating at, and interviewed him in the parking lot about that 39-hour trip they did. So let's hear from them and see how that 39-hour trip went this weekend.
Hey, not much. Just getting back from this 39-hour.
How'd you guys do on that 39-hour trip?
We ended up putting a catch together better than last week's trip. Mediocre bite at night again, but we were able to hit a couple good big vermilion spots during the day, a couple good mangrove spots during the day. I got a tuna on one of those good mangrove spots, and
the night bite was kind of slow, but the day bite seemed to pick up a little bit, right?
yeah, the night bite has been slow the last 2 or 3 trips, but day bite has produced enough fish to put the trip together, you know.
Yeah, and those tuna you caught a couple tuna, right?
Yeah, a couple tunas, a few red groupers. They're moving around again.
Yeah.
And lots of big vermilions in the shallow water too. In there, we don't normally see them in that shallow water, 100 or 120 feet.
Nice. And then what about lanes or yellowtail? Anything like that this trip?
Yeah, we had a couple big yellowtails. The lanes are out there too right now for some reason, and heads and tails, some big strawberries.
Yeah.
A few red groupers.
No fish trolling this trip. The trolling was a little bit slower, but that tuna kind of made up for it.
Yeah, the trolling was a little bit slower. We had a couple big trolling tangles, and didn't have the trolling together as good this trip as we did last trip, where we got those nice fish on the troller.
Hey, Jay.
What's happening?
Will's partner in crime here. How was the trip in your mind, Jay?
I absolutely agree with everything Will just said.
Wasn't even listening, but he agrees.
Yeah. We had to work for it, but if you stayed at it, you put a nice catch together, and
You got to fish every spot. Just every spot, go after it, and one spot can change and make your trip. And
it was kind of a grind this trip.
Yeah, it was a grind. Yeah,
but it seemed to have picked up a little bit. The day bite definitely seems to be doing better for some reason. We are coming into that new moon phase, so maybe that has something to do with it. Definitely a little odd this time of year with that deep water closure, but the triggerfish just opened up, right?
Yeah, we got some triggers this trip too, probably 6 or 8 triggers, and threw some back too. But the bigger ones are in the deeper water with the closed red grouper, so we don't like to go out there, you know, because we can't keep the grouper out there. But March is a month where these fish are moving around, and they're coming into the middle grounds from that deep water right now. The snappers, the groupers, everything. And
so the bite should only improve this month as we get closer to the 1st of April when that deep water closure ends.
Yeah, we're on the edge of springtime and summertime fishing right now.
Yeah, and that's kind of an important note, is this transitional time of year is where those fish are moving around, makes it a little bit difficult to kind of stay on top of them. But one of these trips we're going to find them and stay on them for the summer, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're moving right now, and we'll do what we can do and get on top of these things.
All right, what about the amberjack season? I know that's coming up in May. How are you doing on amberjack? You ready for that?
Yeah, we're ready. We hit one spot this trip and caught a bunch of them right off the bat and kind of got out of there. But there's some jacks roaming around. We've been getting a couple big ones on a troller too occasionally. But we'll probably fish the deeper water when the jacks are in, and a lot of times the bigger jacks are down there, and nobody's messing with them either right now.
Yeah. Leave them alone.
And we got some bigger almacos this trip.
Yep, a couple big almacos.
Very cool, very cool. So a good trip all the way around. You had to work for it, but it ended up being a decent box. Some nice big tuna, and the pelagic trolling should just get better and better, right?
Yeah, there was a big school of bait on top. I haven't seen that in a while out there this trip. So yeah, the top water stuff's happening out there. The fish are moving, and any day now it's going to be crazy out there.
You guys have any tips or tricks to share with the guys tonight?
Right now when we're fishing in the 120 or less, lighter tackle makes a difference.
Especially
4 ounce
still.
weight,
Yeah.
30, 40 pound test line, but the deeper water, they don't seem to care as much.
And that's because right now it's just so calm. You can get away with lighter leads.
So calm, so clear.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fish, won't pick up on that lighter tackle as well.
Very
So,
cool. So lighten up a little bit for the rest of this month, and then once we go back deep at the end of or the beginning of April, we can get heavy again.
It seems like glow beads have been effective for the mangroves at night.
The glow beads, you said?
Yeah, glow beads.
And you put those on your leader, right?
on top of the sinker, or if it's a knocker rig between the sinker and the hook.
Okay.
And those seem to have helped some people get the bite started.
And
Very cool.
actually, glow beads have been working for the triggerfish too. That is one thing I noticed recently.
A triggerfish at night.
No, in the daytime, but
Okay.
they like a glow bead for some reason.
Huh. Interesting. Do you feel that the glow beads kind of work during the day? I know that's a big debate.
Now, the one time I saw, there was a guy catching a ton of triggerfish, and he was catching them on a chicken rig with glow beads on them.
Huh. Interesting. That's something worth trying.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate your time this morning, guys. I know I pulled you away from breakfast. Thanks for your time.
All right, no problem, D.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Pulled him right out of the breakfast restaurant to do that video. So we talked a little bit about this fish over here. Let me pull it back up. Asked you guys the name of it, and a lot of you guys came up with the right name. This right here is called a blue spotted cornet fish, but it's you know what I'm trying to say, called a trumpet fish. A lot of people call these a trumpet fish. But Michael Murray caught this, and he said in the comments on YouTube that he caught it on his first drop using a slow pitch jig. So this was a blue spotted cornet or a trumpet fish caught on a slow pitch jig. So that was the answer we were looking for. Pretty cool fish though, to say the least. Very unique catch. And our last video here we're going to finish up with is Captain Joe. Captain Joe hasn't been running much trips this week, so he's not going to be talking fishing, but he's going to be talking about what we're doing on the Hub. The Hub is one of our private charter boats. We actually have 12 boats in our fleet at Hubbard's Marina. 6 of those boats are fishing vessels. 4 of the 6 are private charter fishing vessels, and then 2 of those 6 are those party boats that a lot of you guys know and love. And these boats require a lot of maintenance. Every 2 to 5 years, these boats get serious overhauls. The Florida fishermen just a little over 2 years ago got almost $1 million in work done to it. This past dry dock, just 2 years later, we spent almost $500,000 on the Florida fishermen. The Hub, we almost completely rebuild it every 5 years. The Flying Hub 1, we just completely redid the motors. Flying Hub 2 has gotten brand new motors on the back of it every year. It is not easy keeping these boats running, and Captain Joe's going to share with you a little bit about what we're doing to the Hub, one of our tried and true charter boats that we've had in operation for quite a few years, and you're going to hear why it's been around so long because of how good we take care of it. So let's check in with Captain Joe and hear about the Hub dry dock.
Okay.
How you doing, Captain Joe?
Good.
So I know we are working on the Hub quite a bit, and you've been busy over there in dry dock, not really fishing too much, but I wanted to kind of share with the viewers what we're doing over there in dry dock on the Hub. I know you guys pulled the motor, you've been doing some other stuff. I wanted everybody to hear about all the work you guys are putting in to making that boat like new again.
Yeah, we're definitely putting in some hours. It's a huge list. It'd take me a while to go over, but for the most part, like you said, we pulled the motor, sent it to the warehouse in Gulfport. We're replacing a bunch of stuff on it, routine maintenance plus some. And as far as the cosmetics on the boat goes, the Coast Guard came and inspected and added to our list. Nothing major, but gel coating the inside of the cabin, outside, sanding down the outside of the boat, repainting it. We got our second coat to put on today. It looks really good. The yard grinded the bottom down. Captain Brian reglassed the keel. The Coast Guard wanted to see that done. It had a couple of minor weak spots in it, so we ground it down to basically glass and reglass the entire keel, so it's never coming off of there. And the boat's going to be like new again. We're doing a lot of work,
And
more than normal.
And we do that to the hub, every 4 or 5 years? It seems like we almost totally rebuild that boat. I remember it was maybe 6, 7 years ago. We got all the way down to the stringers and rebuilt
we
the
cut
whole
the
deck.
deck out. I think that was like 5 years ago, but the deck's still solid. I mean, it's as solid as it could possibly be. So we're not doing a whole lot to the deck other than grinding it down, grinding the non-skid off. We're actually going to repaint the deck gray this time, I think, instead of white, just
like the flying hub too.
Yep.
That gray seems to be working a lot better, and it kind of holds that grit a little bit better. Makes it a little bit
It's a
less slippery.
tougher paint.
Yeah.
And but the deck's solid. We spent a lot of time on the outside of the boat like we did 5 years ago. We sanded it, painted it like 6 times. So this time we sanded it down and it was still in really good shape. So we haven't spent a whole lot of time on the outside of the hull because it's still in such good shape other than sanding it down once and two top coats.
Yeah, so rebuilt the motor is the big thing. Pretty much brand new motor after it's all said and
we'll
done.
probably, on 12-hour trips, we'll probably be running close to 20 knots, I'd say.
Wow.
18 to 20.
So that's almost 4
bottom.
knots faster than what we were getting on the hub.
Yep.
So it's a faster private charter ride, and we've got the Flying Hub 1. That boat's running great. I know you did some test runs on it this week, and that boat's operating well, and you've been doing some maintenance on there too, right?
Yeah, I took it out. Richie and I changed the oil on it the other day. It hasn't had a whole lot of trips since the major rebuild on those motors, other than a few, but we did the first oil change on it. Ran it pretty hard. I did a trip on it yesterday, actually, and it was good. We caught some big gags. Unfortunately, had to throw them back. Caught a few mangrove snappers, grays, and porgies. It was only a 5-hour trip. So,
so
boat ran great, though.
That Flying Hub 1 is a really good opportunity to go out there during red snapper season, gag grouper, amberjack season, because that boat is so efficient. You can run so deep. You can do those deep drops with it. That boat's a really cool boat. I know you like running it, right?
Yeah, it's a really cool boat. And actually, our clients yesterday, they just did a 5 hours, their first time out with us. But we were talking to them about red snapper season, and they're actually going to come back and book. Even an 8-hour trip on that boat, 8 to 10-hour trip during snapper season, you can get out, get red snappers, and come on back. 5-hour, it's a little difficult, but 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour, definitely red snapper season.
Yeah.
Probably limit out.
And that boat actually has more range than the Flying Hub 2, and it runs the same speed, and it's considerably cheaper. So it baffles me why it's not more busy.
It's just so fuel efficient. I mean, we run that thing, and I've had it 140 miles offshore before, and wasn't concerned about fuel at all. It holds quite a bit of fuel, and it's very, very fuel efficient. Like you said, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
6 people or less is the only difference, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Joe. Good work on all the boats this week, and I'm sure looking forward to having that hub back in rotation here in the next week and a half or so.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right, that was Captain Joe talking about the dry dock on the hub. Like I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of work to that boat and really trying our best to keep that thing in tip-top shape along with all our boats. So very interesting part of our job that not a lot of people see or realize is all the time, effort, and hard work that goes into preventative maintenance and just sprucing up the boats, keeping them looking good for you guys when you come out fishing with us, and keeping them safe. That's the big thing. But we're going to get into the questions here and start answering some of your questions. This week I've been jotting down some of the questions that I saw as we went through the video. So we're going to answer some of the questions that I've been seeing you guys post. But I wanted to remind you real quick, again, we have not been able to fix the YouTube random comment pickers. So in order to win the free fishing trips that we're going to give away sometime before the end of the show, you do have to go into Facebook and comment on the Hubbard's Marina YouTube or the Hubbard's Marina stream video. So log into Facebook, search for Hubbard's Marina. Once you're at Hubbard's Marina, here, it'd be easier just to show you. So pull up your internet or interwebs, go to Facebook. Once you're at Facebook, in that search bar, type Hubbard's Marina. And once you're at the Hubbard's Marina page, that's our logo, that's our page. Once you're on our Hubbard's Marina page, you will see the video Look, there's me and me. That's pretty funny. Scroll down to that. This is our live video stream. So you actually have to write a comment here. So write a comment here in order to win. Couldn't think and type at the same time. So that's what you have to do in order to be eligible to win a free fishing trip tonight. Unfortunately, we can't give them away on YouTube this week, but we are working to fix that. Robert Burke, I realize not everybody has Facebook. That's why we're working really hard. Last week, the reason we didn't have the show is because I was trying to fix that myself, and it just blew up. This week, I spent some time trying to fix it and still haven't got it up and running, but we are definitely gonna get that fixed for you guys here soon. So stay tuned with that, and we should have that fixed up shortly. But until then, you gotta comment on the Hubbard's Marina video at least one time, and you have to stay tuned in order to win some free fishing trips that we're gonna give away here at the end of the show. But you have to stay tuned. All right, so one question I saw was trolling. How can you troll on our 39-hour trip or our 44-hour trip or our half-day trip? Basically, the main trips that you can troll on are those I just listed. 39-hour, 44-hour, or that 5-hour half-day. Our 10-hour all-day, most of the time, we're moving too fast and it's not applicable to troll on that 10-hour trip. 12-hour trips, we're definitely moving too fast. You can't troll on those 12-hour trips. So 39-hour and 44-hour, those are the trips that you want to troll on. Those are the trips that are going to give you that ability to catch one of those blackfin tuna, wahoo, or sometimes we even see the billfish caught on those longer range trips. Now, in order to troll, you do have to have your own trolling tackle. Our rod and reel rentals are meant for bottom fishing. So when you rent a rod and reel with us for a bottom fishing trip, we give you a bottom fishing rod and reel. The trolling tackle is specialty tackle that is not the same as our rental rod. So in order to troll on one of those trips, you really need, the best option is a 2-speed reel. The Shimano TLD LRSA is the reel that I prefer to recommend to people from our shop. They are pricey, the 2-speed reels. They are a pretty penny, but if you do a lot of 39-hour trips and you want to troll a lot, it makes sense to invest in a nice trolling reel. At least a 50 wide or an 80 wide's even better. Those 2-speed reels are best. You can, however, buy a cheap 9-knot reel. We have some really cheap 9-knot reels that are lightly used in our shop, and you can troll with one of those 9-knot reels. Is it the best? No. The 2-speed reel is the best because keep in mind, again, it's a bottom fishing trip. The reason our rental rods don't work for trolling is it's a bottom fishing trip. So what I mean by that is on that 39-hour trip, if you hook a fish while you're trolling, unless it's dumping line and you see a sailfish tail walking from the boat, we're not going to slow down. And that boat travels between 7 to 9 knots. So you have to be able to reel in that 10, 12, 15 pound kingfish while that boat is moving, or that little 15, 20, 25 pound tuna while the boat is moving. Unless your reel is dumping drag, that's the only reason we're going to slow down. And if you put out a small reel and you're dumping drag because you use too small of a reel, we're not going to slow down because everybody else on the boat doesn't care about trolling. They want to go bottom fishing. So on those party boat trips, we got to make everybody happy. So you have to have a big enough reel to retrieve those fish while you're trolling. So we do have trolling tackle in the shop. We do have the rods, the reels, all the lures you need. You can buy them in the shop or you can buy them before you come. I'd be happy to get you set up. But the cheapest way to go is definitely that Shimano TLD 50 LRSA 2-speed reel. I think it retails for around $450 to $500 in our shop. If you book a trip with us, it's about $440, $450, and then you can get a really nice custom solid glass rod. Nothing super special, but it'll get the job done for about $80. So about $550 out the door with tax. You have a trolling rod and reel that you'll be able to troll with for the next 5-10 years, as long as you take care of the reel. And then the trolling tackle, the lures are not that cheap, man. A Rapala X-Rap Magnum 30 or a Magnum 40, those lures that we're catching these tuna and that wahoo on, they're about $25-$30 on average. Now, the trolling skirts and the trolling plugs, they can be even more expensive. Most of them ranging anywhere from about $25 to almost $90, especially those Shimano Bonitas, stuff like that. So trolling is not cheap. It's one of those more advanced angler things that you would do once you plan on doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 trips a year. That's when you would invest in trolling tackle to do some trolling. And on that 39-hour or 44-hour trip, most of the trolling, the good trolling, the trolling that gets you that wahoo or that tuna or that billfish, is done on that second day. For example, if it's a Friday 39-hour, we leave Friday at 3 p.m. Friday until the time we start fishing Saturday night, that trolling is not the best time, because most of that time is going to be dusk, and by the time it gets dark, you're not that deep of water. Most of the trolling is done that second day of the 39-hour when we're moving between spots. For example, after the sunrise bite, after that morning bite, we'll typically take a little bit of a run to pack the fish and also to get into a different area to target either amberjack or red grouper or whatever happens to be open that we're running to go after. And on those long runs that second day, that's where you catch these fish. We have people on the boat there to help you troll, like John Martin. He's back there. He's helping coordinate trolling. You can troll on the way out and catch mackerel, kingfish, bonita to use for bait, or kingfish to throw in a cooler and put on the smoker when you get back. But those big fish, you're going to catch trolling once you're offshore actually fishing. One question I saw was about venting fish. Are venting tools required? Yes, it is mandatory that you bring a venting tool out when you go fishing with us on a long range trip. If you don't have a venting tool, we will actually give you a venting tool on the dock before you leave. We just give you one of the metal stringers. That end of that metal stringer does work well to vent a fish. But definitely the best method here, we're going to show you real quick. Venting a fish is super important. To find this page, you can go to hubbardsmarina.com and click on any of our long range trips. So I clicked on the 39-hour trip here, and right down here somewhere along the sides, yep, here it is. Here's a great place to learn proper do's and don'ts of how to vent a fish. Here is the link. When you click that link, it brings you to this page. Very important you know how to vent a fish. This has the do's and don'ts and the proper techniques on how to vent a fish. So we're going to watch this real quick.
So I got the fish up off the bottom. When I felt that bite, I gave him a quick couple spins of the reel to hook that fish. Now I've got him hooked and I'm up off the bottom, so I'm just going to finesse him. If he digs, I'm going to let him dig, and I'm just going to slowly reel him up. So he's digging a little bit. This to me feels like a nice snapper, shaking his head a little bit. What's funny is a lot of these snapper species, they have kind of the same head shake, kind of a quicker head shake, a little easy to tell what's a snapper. And a lot of times the snapper species will kind of give up. I have a feeling here in a second we'll see my rod tip kind of come up a little bit and he'll kind of give up a little. See right there, his head shakes. He stopped digging. He's just kind of coming up smoothly now. So with these red snapper, trick to these guys, get them vented quickly. And you never want to poke or try to vent the fish in his stomach. You always want to try to vent the fish right where his fin kind of comes down. You can use the pectoral fin as a target You just lift up the scale and puncture right in there through his swim bladder, and you'll hear the air escape. Once that air escapes, he's ready to go back down to bottom. That air escaping is what allows him to swim back down to bottom. If you don't vent the fish, he's gonna float away and die. So it's very important that you vent the fish properly, get him back in the water quickly. That way he has a chance to go back down and live another day. That way you can catch him next year when he gets a little bit bigger.
So that was how to properly vent a fish, brought to you by our friends at Salt Strong. Those guys are great people. They helped me create that page. Highly recommend you check that page out and learn how to properly vent a fish before you come out fishing on a 12-hour extreme trip, a 39-hour trip, a 44-hour trip, any trip where you're going to be fishing past around 100 foot of water. You need to know how to vent a fish. Even if you're not fishing with us, especially if you're not fishing with us, if you're fishing on your buddy's boat, someone else's boat, you need to learn how to vent a fish so you can teach everybody else on the boat proper venting methods, because those fish that you catch, those out-of-season red snapper, those undersized red grouper, those big gags that are not in season, you have to vent them so they go back down to bottom. If you unhook them and throw them back in the water, they're just going to float away. They're going to be shark food. They're going to die. They're never going to get back to bottom. And those fish count against us as part of our quota. So if you throw it away and it floats away and dies, it's the same thing. It counts the same way as if you were to throw it in your cooler and take it home. So it's really important everybody learns how to properly vent a fish. That way we can promote conservation and preservation of our species, and we get longer fishing seasons. So it's a win-win for us. Really important you learn how to vent a fish. And yes, venting tools are required on our longer range trips, but we'll give you a free one if you didn't bring one. Someone else asked how the bite was in the pass. What are we catching around John's Pass right now? Right now, the sheep's head bite is just stupid right now. We're catching a ton of sheep's head. We're doing really, really well on sheep's head around the dock, around the pass, around the jetties. Small pieces of shrimp, barnacles, cut oysters, or fiddler crabs seem to be the sheep's head favorite bait. About a 2-aught hook and about 20-pound fluorocarbon is all you need on a little spinning rod, maybe a 4000 series spinning reel, and maybe a medium heavy spinning rod. That way you have that quick action. You want a faster action rod because those sheep's head have a very hard mouth. You really got to set the hook on those guys. We're also catching pompano around the pass. Pompano love those naked ball jigs or those docks jigs, just bouncing right along the bottom, mimicking those sand fleas. Sand flea is a favorite bait of the pompano. You can also catch pompano using smaller live shrimp weighted to bottom around those sandy patches of the beach, or around the jetties or passes like Blinds Pass, Paso Grill Pass, John's Pass. A lot of those places hold pompano. We're seeing a lot of silver trout and whiting. And besides that, that's about the main action inside the pass right now. But the white bait is definitely in the pass, and the mackerel shouldn't be too far away. The next question I saw was the yellowtail bite. How is that going? We're catching a lot of yellowtails right now when we're fishing out there in a little deeper water. So on that 10-hour trip, if we run way south, we'll see those yellowtail. But for the most part, we're seeing yellowtail snapper on our 39-hour trips or our 44-hour trips out there in deeper water. And the yellowtail bite will only get better as the water warms up. All snapper species, mangrove snapper, yellowtail snapper, red snapper, lane snapper, all those snapper species tend to spawn around the summertime. So they become more prolific, more aggressive, and they feed better around that spawn in the summertime. So that's what you have to look forward to as far as the yellowtail bite. The hogfish bite, we're catching some hogfish. The hogfish bite was definitely better from like middle to end December all the way through about mid-February. It's slowed down a little bit for us right now, but that's mainly because we're not targeting them that much. We're catching huge mangrove snapper on live pinfish out there. We're catching a lot of lane snapper. There's a lot of action near shore. So we're not really targeting those hogfish as heavily. And I think that's why we're not catching as many. But overall, the hogfish bite is going very well. A lot of guys are out there catching those hogfish if you're targeting them. But with the mangrove snappers so big and so plentiful right now, that's kind of been what we're targeting. And what other questions do we see here? Someone asked, how often does the Coast Guard inspect the boats? The Coast Guard inspects our boats religiously. Every year, the Coast Guard has to inspect our Coast Guard inspected vessels. So a Coast Guard inspected vessel, what that means is if you want to take 7 or more paying passengers on a vessel, you have to be Coast Guard inspected. So if you want to take 1 to 6 people, you can go out and buy any boat on the market out there. You can take a 6-pack captain's license test, which takes about 360 days, or maybe it might be a little less, but about 360 days of experience. You take a weekend 6-pack captain's class, and then you can go out and buy pretty much any boat out there on the market that holds 6 people, and you can start running 6-person charters. But in order to take 7 people on a private charter or any type of fishing trip, you have to have a U.S. Coast Guard inspected vessel. In order to do that, you need to send your plans to the MSO in Washington, D.C. It takes 6 months on average to get those plans approved. You have to have a naval architect draw up the plans. You have to build that boat with the Coast Guard looking over your shoulder and inspecting at every turn. Once you have the boat built, then you have to have a captain with a 100-ton master license or better, which requires over 700 days experience in order to get that license. Then you can start running trips on that boat. But annually, the Coast Guard has to come out and inspect that vessel. And what that means is the Coast Guard goes through that vessel with a fine-tooth comb, inspecting wiring, through hulls, motors, everything. The Coast Guard just goes crazy, making sure that boat is extremely safe. Coast Guard inspected vessels have to have main transverse watertight bulkheads or MTWBs, which basically means you could hit a rock and cut off the front fifth of the boat, and the boat's still going to float and get those passengers home safely if all the systems are functioning properly. So basically, a Coast Guard inspected vessel is super safe, has a ton of safety equipment, ton of safety requirements, and the Coast Guard gets on that boat annually to inspect it. And if anything happens, if we're out there and something happens, someone gets hurt, we hit something, we run aground, one of our motors fail, the Coast Guard comes out and inspects the next day. So super crazy amount of red tape you have to jump through and hoops, and it's a lot of work to keep a Coast Guard inspected vessel operating safely and operating in the proper manner. So that is what it means to be a Coast Guard inspected vessel, and the Coast Guard inspects annually, and then they inspect anytime there's an issue. So the other question I saw was about deep drop trips. So deep drop trips, let me show you real quick on our website here at hubbardsmarina.com. You can click private charters. When you scroll down on private charters, you can click the Flying Hub 1. This is our deep drop fishing boat. This thing is bad to the bone. This can run a 15 or 18 hour deep drop fishing trip. So this boat was that boat that Captain Joe was talking about being 140 miles from John's Pass in, because this boat has a ton of range, a ton of speed, and you can get out there really far, really fast. And it's a beautiful boat, but you can tell it's very low to the water, so it has to be pristine, almost flat calm conditions. But this thing is going to get you out there very far, very fast. And that 15 or 18 hour private charter is cheaper than if you were going to do one of our 63 hour trips. It's actually cheaper to do a 15-hour private charter. If you get 4 guys and split the cost, that's actually cheaper than our 63-hour trip was. And you get a ton of fishing time out there, and you're still able to be home by dinner. Now, the other option is under private charters, you can go down to the Mrs. Hub. The Mrs. Hub is a large 60-foot hatteras sport fishing yacht. Now, this boat I've done 40-hour deep drops. We can do 54-hour deep drops. We can do 63-hour deep drops on it. This boat has a ton of living areas, ton of fishing areas. It's got a cushioned back deck on it. It is a fishing machine. There's that cushioned back deck. It's got outriggers, so you have a ton of trolling time on the way out. It's got fighting chairs on it, trolling rods, deep drop reels. Everything comes included when you're doing private charters. So if you want to go out there and do some serious trolling trips, the Mrs. Hub is your answer. If you want to do deep drop trips, the Flying Hub 1 15 or 18 hour, or the Mrs. Hub for a longer 50, 60, 72 hour trip. That's how you do the deep drop fishing right now. We don't have any of those public 63-hour deep drops scheduled. On those public trips, you had to have all your own tackle. On the private charters, we give you all the deep drop tackle, and all the trolling tackle. Everything comes included in that private charter price. So it does make it a little easier to get out there and do some crazy, unique fishing. Another question I saw was about shark fishing. We do offer shark fishing trips. Again, if you go to hubbardsmarina.com, you click fishing trips, you can see all our public trips. These are all public trips that you can take, from our 5-hour trip all the way up to our 44-hour trip. Remember, our 63-hour trip is still on our website. We just don't have any scheduled this year. Might do another one next year. That's why we haven't taken it off the website yet. But this 12-hour extreme trip is a split charter. The other split charter is our 5-hour trophy shark trip. This is aboard the Hub, and we only take up to 8 people on this trip. It's $150 per person. That includes all the shark tackle you need, those huge reels, all that tackle, that chum. It's a really, really cool trip. We do those on Friday nights, except for the new moon, from the end of March all the way through about September. So those, again, are Friday nights, not on the new moon. So most every moon phase, except for some of them. And on that shark trip, we do often catch Goliath grouper. So that's kind of a shark trip / Goliath grouper trip. And you have a great opportunity to catch them. Now, if you want to do one of those shark fishing or Goliath grouper trips and you don't want to go on a Friday night, you can always do your own private charter. If you can think it up, if it swims in the Gulf of Mexico, one of our private charter boats can do a private trip for you and your friends to go get them. So that's always an option. To answer your question there, Carson Deals. The last thing I wanted to talk about real quick was about the weather. We have some interesting weather coming up on our website under fishing trips. You can always go down to our weather links page and look at all the different links that I use to check the weather for your trips. And right up here on the Wind Finder one, you can see that Egmont Key channel entrance wind finder buoy. And we're going to take a peek at that. You can see the wind graph here. Tomorrow is going to be nice weather in the morning. They're only calling about 2-foot seas. There's a slight chance of rain, and then it gets a little bumpy tomorrow afternoon. Same thing Tuesday. It starts out pretty nice, only about 2.5-foot seas, and then it gets a little bumpier Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday is almost 4.5, 5-foot seas, so Wednesday is going to be a pretty darn bumpy day. It calms down quickly Thursday, switches out of the east. It's only about 2-foot seas, dying down to 1 foot. Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday looks really, really good right now. So some bumpy, turbulent weather there Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, all day Wednesday, and into Thursday. It calms down Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday looks gorgeous. That's kind of our weather outlook. And the reason Wednesday's weather gets a little turbulent is because of a cold front. So that fishing tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, should be pretty good ahead of that front. And then Wednesday, that front's going to blow through. Thursday, it's going to be a little slow. It's going to be calming down. Friday, Saturday, that fishing should get back to normal. Really important to kind of time your trips around those fronts. Make sure you don't get stuck out there in any kind of bad weather. But all week long, we're going to have temps in the lower 70s. It's going to get a little chilly here in the state of Florida. I know a lot of you guys up there in the snow are going to be angry. I said it's going to be chilly in the lower 70s, but we enjoy 80-degree temperatures here in the state of Florida almost 365 days a year. So we enjoy living in Florida for that reason. It's beautiful living in paradise and watching the gorgeous views inside John's Pass all the time. It is going to be a little chilly this week. They were calling for temps in the high 40s some of these nights, but it ended up kind of getting a little warmer. It's not supposed to get as cold as they were first forecasting. Again, on our website, when you go to hubbardsmarina.com, click fishing trips, weather links. We even have the 7-day forecast in here, and I'm just going to pull this up real quick for all you guys. To the north, yes, all right, it does get into the 60s. That's pretty cold Wednesday, but it warms up nicely again this weekend into the upper 70s, low 80s. So beautiful week ahead. The fishing weather is definitely best Monday morning, Tuesday morning before this breezy kicks up, and then Friday, Saturday looks really, really good. But this time of year, the weather can change so much. So forecasts anything longer than 3 or 4 days out is just completely utter guessing, and you really can't put much weight behind an advanced forecast this time of year. Very tough to know what the weather's going to do more than 3 or 4 days out in the month of March, especially in the state of Florida with the Gulf of Mexico water temperatures, especially with the El Nino or La Nina that we have going on right now. So weather changes dramatically. So just because they're calling for weather Wednesday doesn't mean it's actually going to come through Wednesday. So we shall wait and see what happens. But definitely some interesting weather coming this week. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give away some free fishing trips here. I just want to make sure I reiterate again, in order to win a free fishing trip, you have to have commented on our Hubbard's Marina Facebook video. So hopefully everybody had a chance to do that. Let's pull up a winner here of some free fishing trips. So let's see. I have to make my screen bigger so I can see what I'm doing. Always so embarrassing. I've been doing this live show now for, I don't know, 6 months. You would think I'd get this all figured out by now, but I will one day, don't worry. So we've got about 600 comments here, about 238 unique comments. So let's see who won this free fishing trip. So let me make this smaller again. There we go. All right, so let's see who won the free. We're going to give away a free 10-hour all day for 2 people. Then we're going to give away a free 5-hour half day for 2 people. So the first winner here is going to win a 10-hour all day for 2. The second person is going to win a 5-hour half day for 2. And in order to claim your prize, you do have to message the Hubbard's Marina page your name, your home address, and your phone number, and I will send you those free trips out to your home. So again, your name, phone number, and home address, you got to message it to the Hubbard's Marina page to claim your prize. So let's see who won that 10-hour all day for 2 people. Drum roll, please. Douglas. I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name there, but pretty good luck, man, or happy winning for you, Douglas. So you won a 10-hour all day for 2 guests, And to answer your question, our crew goes through training every 2 months. We have a crew meeting and we do drills, man overboard drills, fire drills, different drills like that. Every 2 months we go through training, and then we're only Coast Guard trained when we go through different courses like able-bodied seaman and captain's license courses, stuff like that. But you don't get a lot of training from the Coast Guard. Most of your training comes in-house from the company. So we actually pay our fleet supervisor to hold these staff meetings and crew meetings, and that's when we do crew training. So it can definitely vary from company from company. I know here at Hubbard's Marina, we put a real big emphasis on doing drills every other month. So let's see who won a 5-hour half day. 5-hour half day winner is, again, 5-hour half day for 2, Harry Smith Jr. Very cool, Harry Smith Jr. You won a 5-hour half day for 2. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Let me get this back to full screen. Again, this Sunday night show is every Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. We'll be back next week again at 8:30 p.m. Hope to see you there. Don't forget, March 16th, we have our Bass Pro Shop seminar. You can come join me in person at Bass Pro Shops. We can talk about fishing tips, tricks, and more. I answer all your questions, and I give away free fishing trips there at Bass Pro Shops as well. So I'll see you March 16th for that free fishing seminar, and hopefully you can win some free fishing trips. I'll see you next week, 8:30 p.m. for another live stream fishing show. Remember, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. We do those live stream videos every morning where we tell you about the weather, what we're catching, and what's coming up at Hubbard's Marina. So stay tuned to the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, and get out there and go fishing, guys. Whether it's with us at Hubbard's Marina or someone else or on your own boat, it doesn't beat getting offshore. So have a great day, have a good night, and have a great week. See you later, guys.